right, it looks like we're getting ready to go.
You think so?
Yeah. So I can't tell you what a pleasure this is actually for me to do this interview here today. I don't know if you remember, but the first time I ever came to the International Hypoxia Symposium, which I think was back in 1999 when it was at the Jasper Park Lodge, and the first person from the meeting that I interacted with when I came into the lodge to check in, I walked right up to the front desk, and there standing to my right, not just a couple of minutes after I'd finished reading Everest to West Ridge, was Tom Hornbein. And I'm pretty sure I said to you what a ton of people have probably said to you over time, hey, I just read your book. That was really great. Knowing nothing else to say to you.
And what smart-ass reply did you get?
You were very polite, because I think you'd probably been very practiced at dealing with people like myself coming up in exactly those situations saying, I just read your book. But it brings back a lot of good memories for me.
Wow.
So it's great to be able to chat with you today. So I was wondering, you've obviously been coming to this meeting for a very long time. Can you tell me what your first time at the Hypoxia Symposium was like?
Well, not with certainty, but I could make it up. I was either at the very first one or the second one. They were both at the Banff Springs Hotel. And of course, Charlie Howson was the force behind them, and very much a presence there. And one of the things I do remember vividly was, beyond the meeting itself, was that he was in the throes of trying to put together a giant high-altitude research effort, which eventually in 1985 came into reality as Operation Efforts 2. And so there was a lot of conversation spent on how to get money. I don't know if Claude L'Enfant was present at either of those meetings or not, but he was obviously one of the targets of the NIH-LBI. Or maybe back then it might have still just been the NIH-BI.
Mm-hmm. So you were pretty active in research at that time, and I think, if I remember correctly, you were even active in research before you went on your Everest expedition in '63. What was it that drew you into research in the world of hypoxia?
Well, let me think how I want to attack that. I should start probably when I went to college to become a geologist at the University of Colorado, and looked around at the student body, of whom I was one, who were playing around a lot, but most of them were not playing on cliffs like I would. And after 3 years, I became disenchanted with geology, partly because what I saw was either teaching a bunch of students who were as interested as most of the students at the University of Colorado in anything but study, and partly the oil geology, which is all I was able to see at the time, was the other alternative. And I got involved by then for my climbing in mountain rescue in the formation of the other of the two first mountain rescue groups. One was in Seattle, the Mountain Rescue Council, and then the Rocky Mountain Rescue. And in that I ended up taking and teaching first aid. And so by the end of my third year, I decided I didn't want to go into geology, and I switched my major and applied to medical school at Washington University in St. Louis, and they accepted me, I guess because of the analogy between all the rocks I'd been pounding on, and gallstones and kidney stones and things like that. Anyway, I got into medical school and I started reading about human adaptation to altitude. And in the course of that, I came across a paper by Hugo Chiodi, one of the Peruvian investigators, which looked at, maybe they were entitled PSCO2s, probably not arterial ones, of acclimatized lowlanders, a normal population of highlanders, and a subset of very polycythemic highlanders. And the PCO2s of the lowlanders were the lowest, and the polycythemic inhabitants of the altitude were the highest. So I had this brilliant idea that I learned by then about chemoreceptors in my freshman year, that maybe there was some relationship between polycythemia and breathing. And in your senior year, you can get 6 months to do anything you want to. So I went to the laboratory of the guy who would become my mentor and research guide, Albert Roos, with this idea of studying the effect of polycythemia on breathing. And he took me in, and we got connected with a professor in Bill Harrington in hematology, and transfused me up with 5 units of blood to a hematocrit of about 60 from 45. And I pedaled away on a stationary bicycle, breathing various oxygen mixtures, but air, oxygen, and low oxygen mixture that was probably equivalent to 12,000 feet or so. And demonstrated that indeed breathing, hematocrit goes up, breathing goes down. And then that paper was accepted for publication by the Journal of Applied Physiology. No statistics. There was only an N of 1. And I smiled thinking back that if you try to submit a paper like that nowadays, well, I guess you couldn't even do that kind of a study nowadays.
And Brownie always referenced how you were such an important mentor for him. And if you had if you were sitting today, say there was an undergraduate or graduate student here at Hypoxia, and you had the opportunity to talk to them, what type of advice would you impart to them about being, how to be successful in this field?
Ooh, you're getting very challenging. At a certain level, it's totally unprofound. I mean, it's commit yourself, take risks, and have a ball, and make a difference. And the making of the difference, at least in my life, has been more in the impact I think I've had on other people's lives than my so-called great scientific contributions. And so to have the opportunity to influence people like Brownie and others in their futures unfolding, to do just what I did, only better, and then pass it along to the next generation, I guess that's been the thrill of the game. And you're included in that.
Thanks. Well, I've definitely benefited from your advice over time as well.
Well, those years after Brownie left, when we taught together, that were really special.
Yeah, one of my fondest memories of fellowship and coming up as a junior level person was get the opportunity to work together with you. So I think if I remember correctly, this is the 21st International Hypoxia Symposium. We've been going since 1979, and you've been at most of them, if not all of them, over the years. When you look back on all that time that you spent here, what are some of your fondest memories?
Well, from my current perspective, which is very narrow, I guess the fondest memories are the people I've gotten to know and reconvene with, like all of you here now. And the reason I come now is not to update my brilliant science, because a good share of this I barely understand, but mainly to reconnect with people that are very precious in my life, in one way or another. from all over the world. And it's not a bad place to be anyway. And it's also fun to be able to grass, hack it, and push.
We all enjoy doing the same thing as well.
Well, that's one of the things you should take from your elders and perfect it to new levels.
Continue the tradition?
Yes.
All right. Well, that's a deal. Well, Tom, thanks very much for taking the time to chat with me and sharing your experiences and thoughts with everyone else who will be watching this at some point.
Thank you for giving me the privilege of doing that. And you did a nice job.
Thanks.